Hey everybody, welcome back to Your Free TV. It is Wednesday, July 8th, 2026. I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. Jump right in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution, protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. I'm so glad to be back with you. What an amazing weekend. What an incredible celebration. I hope that you had a fantastic time and celebration with family and fellowship and friends, community. And we continue on right now. It's like getting back to the hard work, and especially next week when Senate gets back in from their lovely 3-week vacation. But we're going to jump in. We have so much news. I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you to everyone so much supporting the channel monthly. You make it happen. I'm so appreciative. And I also want to say thank you to Rose, Joette. Rose, thank you so much. Joette, continued support. So appreciate you. And Tom and Ginny and all of you. Your words mean so much to me. And thank you. Thank you so much. And yes, we're going, this is now, Trump has made it very clear that this is a fight against communism. And we're going to see some interesting manifestations of that coming out, where now the new Colorado candidate for the House is coming in with now whites should get reparations too. So just full communism, full things going on there. So we're going to get into it. There's so much to talk about, but basically it was an incredible celebration over the weekend, and it's just, you know, it's America rising back from the dead. And not only that, but completing Revolution 250. And that's where we're at. So let's jump in and get to it. Okay. So basically, I want to, will I cover the waterfront first, or will I just jump in? There's always so much. I did want to mention this, Washington State. Washington State, again, this is about local action, where you can, you know, do petitions like the Democrats do, to do good things in your state. Washington State has filed for a referendum with a repeal the state income tax petition with 500,000 signatures. This is Washington State. Okay, this is like huge, you know, blue takeover state, but, you know, all to the east, completely red. But very interesting in Washington State that now we're looking at this income tax petition to repeal income tax coming through into Washington State. And these referendums that you can do on the local level are very exciting. They're just necessary. It's what people used to do all across the country, where they would bring in locally what you want your state representatives to accomplish. So very cool there. We have Pulte still, DNI, temporary Pulte. You know, they're going to try real hard next week when they come back to get in Clayton right away. But Pulte is still out there in the office of DNI, firing those who refuse to turn over the documents that he's requesting, the files, as well as other agencies. So he's firing people across the intelligence agencies. And so this is very interesting, with the active sedition that, you know, Hillary Clinton had suggested last week, saying we hope they, you know, slow roll giving over the documents that are requested. Of course, a lot of this has to do way back to Russiagate. It has way back to 2020 election. And we're seeing so much going on. We're seeing the DOJ is now going to put, at least in Michigan, they're saying they're going to put election poll watchers in, specifically directly from the DOJ into Michigan, like Detroit, where the big steal happened there in 2020. All kinds of great stuff going on. But of course, we have NATO. We have Trump's incredible arrival there, where he's, you know, greeted on his second cavalry greeting. He had just had that with the Rough Riders at Mount Rushmore. So I think it's actually poignant that he had the Rough Riders, 1st Cavalry, real escort of the president that had happened. This was on July 3rd, where he was at Mount Rushmore. I think that was the best fireworks. I know that the 4th was off the charts, incredible, beating records and everything. But what they did at Mount Rushmore was so poignant. And I guess the Lakota name for Mount Rushmore is six grandfathers. And so we have Burgum, Secretary of Interior, has been saying multiple times that Trump should be on Mount Rushmore. And I concur with that assessment. And so incredible, if you haven't seen it, I'll try to link it below, the July 3rd fireworks at Mount Rushmore, where they had each of the presidents on the mountain faces light up, and they had their voices saying different parts of famous words that they had presented as part of their presidencies. And Trump, being the gracious man that he is, even went on through everyone Reagan forward. Even had Biden saying words at the end of this, something like, "I gave my best to the American something something," Biden. But it was incredible. I will link it below. Okay. So anyway, so much happening, and we're going to dig into it. We have a lot to talk about today. So, and I will plug for my sponsor at the end of this video. And it's incredible to have a sponsor to even keep this channel going along with you all. And so I'm really grateful. So, okay, let's check in with a couple things. We do have the Kirk murder trial going on. Charlie Kirk, his murder, his disgusting, awful murder, supposedly. This trial is an evidentiary. It's actually just the preliminary evidentiary hearing going on to set up for a trial. It's been a nothing burger. It's been going on since Monday. And I guess tomorrow is where they actually bring in the ballistics experts, and this could be the one shakeup. But we're kind of hearing that it's been so in advance, just totally surveilled about who's going to present what, that there will be no, the rifle appeared out of nowhere after the FBI dogs sniffed around and didn't find a rifle, et cetera, to do with Tyler Robinson and all of it. So this is going on, and tomorrow with ballistic experts from the defense, this could be the last day of this preliminary evidentiary hearing. And if nothing comes out of that, then we know this total setup is happening, in my opinion, for entertainment purposes only, around this Charlie Kirk murder trial. So evidentiary hearing leading up to a trial. So there's that. And as I mentioned earlier, this thing about full communism as they're going forth, we have the situation of Mirit, is it Mirit Kiros or whatever her name is, out of Colorado, who is now, the candidate for the House in Colorado. She was calling basically for reparations for whites. Okay, she's born in Ethiopia. Okay, we have this Muslim candidate who is now in Colorado, and of course, join the list of the takeover of Colorado. But basically, she is saying that I've been talking. She was on a podcast with two super liberal, communist, whatever podcasters, and she was like, "I'm all for reparations. We need reparations," and they were greatly shaking their heads, and they're white. And she said, and I started to look into the white poor, and then they stopped shaking their heads. They're like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, we should really consider, that they're the poor white people and how they have been also abused by, of course, the evil capitalist system." And so instead of ending the Fed, or the globalist bankster elite is controlling our country, or anything else that Trump is doing to create the new, actually the old meritocracy, trying to bring back economic sovereignty to the USA. No. She's a shill for, let's have CBDC, universal basic income. Let's get reparations for the whites, full communism. And so that's what they're going for. They're going to try to capture the Bernie bro whites out there to try to see now can we get full communism support for reparations for whites, reparations. I mean, it's so insanely ridiculous. And I know I'm going on about it, but it did disturb me. So let's get into, should we start with NATO? Actually, I'm going to mention something first. Tomorrow on July 9th, this will be the day in history of the 250th anniversary when we had in New York City, the first time the reading of the Declaration of Independence was read to the troops, okay, read to the troops as they're fighting. And this is incredible because what they did as a result of hearing the Declaration of Independence was that they went on force and they tore down um, the uh, the King George III, who he basically and got in. The George II died, and he came in, and they tore down the statue of him, which was like this huge. I think it was like a 4,000 pound statue. Okay, that was gold plated, all of it, him on a horse, and they tore it down in Bowling Green in New York City, and they basically melted that statue down into 42,000 um, musket balls, okay, to use against the British Crown. And so that's tomorrow. So it's an ongoing liberation, this 250 that we're experiencing. And I wanted everybody to know that tomorrow is an important day, the melting down of the statue of King George III into musket balls. It makes me think of Mike Lindell saying we have to melt down all the machines to make them into prison bars, right, into the election machine. So yeah, very interesting there. So I'm going to jump in here. I think I'm going to jump into NATO right now. Let's just do that. There's so much going on. And so, okay, with NATO, we have Trump basically saying, it's been a unifying, incredible time. And that, he's standing there he lets Ruta stand in the middle of the NATO picture with him to his left and Erdogan to his right. And of course, this whole NATO summit was really about taming down and taming back NATO's, the EU, Bankster Cabal, European International, uh, Nazism 2.0, whatever you want to call it, movement for their ongoing wish to steal everything from their people. And now Carney's involved with what he's been doing with now creating a debt system in Canada to be the next resource to funnel everything to the crown and suck all the resources out of Canada, is that they need war because they want the money. They want the money. It was designed to go this way. And Trump is basically coming out at NATO and saying, this has been a very unifying experience. And Ruta, he's such a great unifier. I wish the press could have been in to see how unifying this whole process has been, right? And this is while Trump is meeting with Zelensky. We have Zelensky already saying a few weeks ago that there's going to be post-war elections that are going to be coming in Ukraine. So they're already planning for this post-war situation. This is happening, and Trump coming out and saying that NATO is unified, except for Spain and Belgium, which he hates because of the Greenland situation, which he continues to continuously push, and this whole situation of that there will be this fight over Greenland that will be coming up, and NATO's the EU cabal is holding hard on that, and Spain, of course, with the most communist country in the EU at this point, with the most Muslim country in the EU at this point, to the extent that we had Mamdani's wife, instead of choosing to be here because she's such a great American, to as being the wife of the mayor of the biggest, greatest city in the country, in New York City. And we're going to talk about Mamdani and his little 9/11 housing thing that went on, over the weekend and just kind of ended, today. Didn't end, but whatever happened there with their frozen zones where they're claiming that buildings are falling down suddenly when after he said we're freezing the rents of 400,000 apartments, we're doing all this stuff, and suddenly buildings are falling down, right? Just columns collapsing. But what we get here is his wife goes to Spain for literally a Quran gathering for women to talk about the plants of the Quran to celebrate a sanctuary for plants from the Koran. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with, and that's why Trump is coming out so hard on, the communism is the issue, but communism also is another word for Islam. And so it's interesting as he goes to Turkey and he has this cavalry, kind of what I started with, that he has this cavalry escort from Erdogan. And it's interesting because they're kind of wearing the same colors as the Rough Riders. I mean, it's just an interesting juxtaposition that it exists, that this sort of light blue top, the beige pants and the whitish hats. Interesting contrast there. And so what we see there is President Trump saying, we are going to, I'm a huge friend of Erdogan, and we are here to basically, possibly give him F-35s, and also to, remedy this situation of when we were supposed to give them Patriot missile systems, and we didn't, and they bought them from Russia. And so very, very interesting as the leaders are very, very removed. Ursula von der Leyen, arriving in like an Uber. There was nobody celebrated at all except Trump coming to see Erdogan, who of course is, he's aged, but he looks like he's not well aged. So, at some point soon there will be a shift in Turkish leadership. And so what we see here is that Trump is saying that he will sell, possibly to Ukraine, a license to build Patriot missile defense systems, and to Ukraine, so that basically we're going to get Ukraine. It reminds me of Israel will fuse with and this is still a problem, fuse with the American military and intelligence, which we have to fight coming up next week. But basically, he's saying that to Zelensky, we may pass on this license to build Patriot missile defense systems in Ukraine. Now, and he's saying that would be our security guarantee to you. That, of course, you will have these systems, and that will be the U.S.'s, showing you that you are, we're going to help you defend yourself. And who are they actually defending? And what is Trump doing in here? And I believe that he is setting up a situation where the U.S. is gaining huge control in what's going to go down very soon in Ukraine, because Trump has been talking to Putin. He made it clear in his press conference today, I've been talking to Putin constantly. He's like, I talk to you a lot less, he said to Zelensky, but I also, I talk to Putin regularly. And he said to the press, what questions do you have for Putin? Very interesting that he said that to the press, because he's basically saying that the USA has a stake in Ukraine, and especially for rare earth minerals. So the plan, which had been really for this EU bankster capture of Ukraine, I believe is being turned around, and it's not an easy situation. Obviously, Ukraine, as I've been talking about for so long, as the garbage disposal of cartel Babylon, for so much corruption. And Trump is saying there's so much potential there. There's so much that can get fixed, and also that it can become actually a huge ally if it was done correctly for the U.S. to gain control instead of the EU. And I believe that's why he was touting all of this incredible, oh, we have so much unity. If there was one word for this NATO summit, it is unification. And that just means that America, that Trump and Bessent, obviously with him, Hegseth, Stephen Miller, all of them, but hugely Bessent, that they are bringing to heel the EU, even though the EU never gives up with their Nazi International. They're still not giving up, even though Germany's, I think, laying off 100,000 Volkswagen workers, but yet, agreeing to, supposedly fund more for war, even though they have no infrastructure, they have no military, hugely, certainly not not built out. And so very interesting where, Trump comes out and says Zelensky has such huge support from the EU and Canada. This guy has huge support. And I really believe this is Trump trolling. Behind the scenes, what's going on is much, much different. Okay, it's much, much different. Huge support from Canada and Europe. Well, they didn't get the giant invite, the giant procedure, the giant staging to be the head of the NATO summit. And what's going on here is we're seeing Turkey being, backed up to be a huge wall against Israel. Okay, especially with Trump touting the F-35s. We have Erdogan coming out and saying, oh yeah, he's saying there'll be F-35s. If that happens, we'll know that the USA keeps its word. And, I want to see Istanbul, Constantinople again. Okay, we're dealing with the Islamist threat that is combined with communism in the color revolution happening in the USA right now. But as we're seeing Trump do what he does step by step, this situation to reign in Israel is really important right now. And of course, Trump is now with the Secretary of Defense, Hegseth. They're BOM being Iran for their hits on the tankers in the Straits. They're hitting Karg Island. They're here in Keshem Island. We're seeing all of the taking out of what is the surveillance radars along the strait. All of this is continuing during this. And we also had Ukraine hitting the Blue Stream pipeline of Russia, that the pipeline that flows to Turkey. Okay, so all of this happening, and none of this is, going by the wayside or not being understood. So Ukraine hit missile strikes on the Blue Stream pipeline at a compressor station. Russia was able to get it under control. This is natural gas that goes straight to Turkey from Russia. And this, all of this is going on while Trump's discussions with Putin are extremely positive, saying we have incredible potential if we, ally forces and resources. What we can do is endless, and there's going to be a new space, a new space expedition launch out of Russia with a USA and Russian team that are going to be doing this new space exploration launch that will be coming up, I believe, in August. So this is all very interesting, and all while Trump is saying also from NATO again, Israel would not exist if it weren't for me. Basically saying that Israel would have been blown up if it wasn't for me standing in the gap during all of this that's gone down. And he's not saying that in vain. He's not saying it as a mistake. It is literally his message to Bibi. And of course, Netanyahu's, now going to be the next prime minister, form the next government. And what we have here is Netanyahu doing a, tour of the news, mainstream media over the weekend and into this week. On Sunday on Fox News, him coming out literally lying through his teeth and saying, Israel has been the best defender of Christians. I mean, you just can't make it up, the lies. But, defending them in Lebanon, defending them, across Israel. Absolute opposite is true. And not just him, all the Islamists also just blowing up and killing all the most ancient civilizations of the Christians. And so, it's almost obvious at this point for anybody to watch and see what is going on here. So as we continue to watch this, there's so much more going on. We have let me see. Wait, hold on one second. Oh yeah, we have this. We have Trump refusing to fly home in the new Air Force One, the Qatari plane. He cites, first it comes out where he's at NATO, has to fly home, but instead the Trump Force One or the Air Force One Qatari plane is sent to the UK, that something's wrong. Okay, something's wrong with this plane. He will not fly home in it. And he's citing it's because now they have to hit Iran again. You know, prayers, prayers, prayers for Trump's flight home. He should be on it now. That basically that something's awry with this plane. And Trump comes out and says first, oh, you know, it's going to be viewed in the UK. It's all great. And then it's like, well, no, I am #1 on the kill list of Iran. And so I think I should, you know, change tack. And that's absolutely crazy. That's just baloney. So who is trying to kill Trump? You know, and who does it bring up again except, you know, the cartel Babylon, European International, Mossad, etc. Group that is wanting to take Trump out of the picture as he's announcing unification, unification. So this is all what's happening. We have General Voluzhny, the former commander-in-chief of Ukraine's armed forces, who was kind of forced out last year, and because Zelensky didn't trust him, and he was gaining too much power, was going to overtake Zelensky, and he made him ambassador to UK, kind of at their direction. And so this is the new guy that in these potential elections, meaning that the war is supposed to be over by the end of the summer, that they're going to have elections in Ukraine. And Zelensky called a meeting and brought Zelensky back, the ambassador to UK now, and basically said, you know, if I hold elections, are you going to run? And talking and touting that elections for Ukraine will be coming up in mid-autumn. And of course, Valery Zelensky is very popular. He's like at least twice as popular as the totally unpopular Zelensky. But there's others. There's the defense minister, Mikhail Fedorov, and we have the head of office at, you know, for Zelensky, the head of the president's office, Kirill Budanov, also in the mix for presidential, you know, runs here in this new system that's expected to come soon. That Trump didn't exactly say outright, but basically said, you know, this war is going to wind down, and it's going to happen because the U.S. has a huge stake in this. And if we're going to come in with these supposed, you know, security guarantees of these Patriot missile systems, I think what's going to come in here is actually the opposite of what's actually. I think there's a saving here of Poland, Romania. We have Georgescu, who has come out clearly against the puppet President Don in Romania, saying that in Georgescu, Călin Georgescu, who was the one stripped of his presidentship, very much like how they're trying to do to Graham Plattner in Maine right now. Just, you win 75%, but we just come in and put Kamala Harris in, you know, instead. It's this whole kind of thing where they're doing what they did to Georgescu in Romania. He's coming out. Everybody wants Georgescu to be the president. He's saying we have a national security threat. We have, you know, this whole Zelensky deal with Don is putting our whole country in jeopardy, our sovereignty in jeopardy, trying to, you know, create some sort of FF that would be a way that NATO could, you know, invoke Article 5 and all of this. And so as much as we can't stand the situation of the U.S. having deeper ties into Ukraine, for Trump to say, well, actually, our military will be right there to kind of control what happens with these missile defense systems. That if we actually, you know, build out the missiles right there in Ukraine, we are also going to protect all of Ukraine from what Europe is planning to do with it, and I would say the Israel North crowd. And so it's an interesting move. We're going to keep watching what happens, but I think it has been quite an incredible meeting of NATO. And as I said, I will continue to follow up as it goes on, as more news comes out in the next couple days. There's going to be, I'm sure, things that weren't said at the presser that are going to come out through, through different channels, and we'll keep watching on it. But I did want to talk about this. Speaking of European International, is that we have coming out of Natalie Winters, her awesome Substack. She has uncovered what is going on with a Berlin-based foreign NGO, money and organizing for stealing the midterm elections, okay, in 2026. And this has to do with Power for Democracies. Power for Democracies. Now, this is, totally USAID-esque type group, an Act Blue-esque type group that is literally foreign money going in to pour money into candidates, but also to bring in their expertise. Remember in 2020 when they were bringing in, 2024, where they were bringing in all of these UK and European people into the United States to work for the Dems. Well, in all of the rogue votes out of out of um, out of Europe that would just come in and change the election at the last minute for the citizens living abroad. Well, this is just money straight up. I mean, this is full-on election, crime. This is a group called Freedom to Vote. Freedom, the number 2 vote, and they're a shell organization for what is called Civitech, and basically they're a nonprofit, a U.S. corporation, but they are basically working out of Power for Democracies, which is this Berlin-based NGO, where they are pinpointing using AI data tech to go through databases and pinpoint who are the Democratic likely voters. And they go and they find people who have recently moved, people who are uh, ex-prisoners just out of prison, okay, and also only turned 18, and of course focusing hugely on blacks and Latinos, where they are pinpointing where they only register to vote who they think will be Democrats, okay, and this is all using advanced AI data, and again, this is out of Berlin, Germany. So this is what's happening, and yeah, it is. It's incredible. It's incredible to see this. That Civitech, that is the actual organization that Freedom to Vote is the shell organization for, um, run by the Democrats, straight out of Berlin. Okay, but being used in the USA. I mean, it's just exactly 2020 election, as we have studied it for years and years and talked about on this channel forever, is that we're seeing that they basically are ensuring that there will be minimal Republican voter registration, that they can guarantee that in their database based targets. So this is it's just it's just disgusting. They even go on to say that what we send out to these potential voters is nearly completed voter registration forms, that the forms are basically almost done, and all you got to do is sign it practically, for entertainment purposes only. Linking the great article below in the Substack by Natalie Winters. But this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a situation where they're sending out almost completed voter registration forms from a foreign NGO with foreign money out of European International, to not only influence our election, but to literally create a Democrat win. So huge. Okay, that's a big one. So I wanted you to know about that. Okay, and so let's see. We have Trump DOJ sending monitors, election monitors, into Michigan for the 2026 election. That's great. Detroit, Lansing, and East Lansing, all sites of huge fraud. 2020, 2022, and 24. All of the blocking of the GOP election poll workers, all of it. There's going to be a huge presence there from the DOJ. That's gone out. Of course, they're going to fight back hard, but that's okay. And let's see what else. We have Trump basically saying he's going to be cutting off all trade from Spain. as I mentioned earlier, where we have this situation where, Spain, as I mentioned, hugely Muslim communist takeover there, and Trump is basically saying we're going to cut off Spain trade from the USA, which I'm all 100% for. I think it's fantastic. Okay, and so let's go on. Let's see what else I want to mention today. It won't be a giant long one. I kind of just wanted to cover the waterfront here and talk about NATO. It is an incredible display of Trump's team going out and dealing with the cartel bankster threat that is NATO, and we're going to see that having Turkey in this pivotal place as the second largest NATO military outside of the USA, and being positioned that way in this meeting, that they're going to be able to accomplish a huge control over what's going to be coming out of Europe with the coming end of the war with Russia and Ukraine. And Trump and Russia, Trump and Putin already have in play what is going to be a huge USA and Russia connection, trade agreements, basically combining resources and combining what is our cultural heritage in common, for moving forward to fight bankster European International. And this also goes against what is the Islamist International, which is the communist regime attacking our state. So we're going to see a lot of changes happening here. There's talks about what's going to happen after the RNC gathering there in Dallas at in mid September. This situation of what Trump's going to do with emergency powers for being able to come in where the federal government is going to have to be involved with the election process of 2026 coming forward. A lot of information coming out, and Bill Pulte is still doing the heavy lifting there while everybody's on vacation. Okay. And so we're going to see, first of all, what did Trump say? What was the huge theme of all of his talks across the January 4th festivities and speeches? It was all about, we need to kill the filibuster. We're going to have the Democrats come in, declare D.C. and Puerto Rico a state. They're going to pack the Supreme Court. They want 21 Supreme Court members. They're going to make everyone retire over 60. They're going to literally, kill the Electoral College. Basically, all he's saying is we need the Save America Act now, and we need to stop them from gaining control in the 2026 midterms. And again, we have everybody who is our friends in the House saying the same thing, okay, whether it's Ron Johnson or Eli Crane or anybody else pushing for this, while we have Thune and we have half-dead McConnell, right? Half-dead McConnell, we have Elaine Chao, his wife, running off the second day that he's lying comatose in the hospital. She's running off to meet with the vice president of China, right? And the Chao shipping dynasty, always massive close ties with China. And this was one of the hobbling aspects of Trump's first presidency, having her in as transportation secretary. And so now this whole thing happening here is Thune, as this failing Senate leader. We could get him out with 27 votes, but we need the 202-224-3121 for your senator to make these calls leading up to next Monday when they come back. And the Save America Act has to be forced through the Senate. Has to be. And they could do it by firing the parliamentarian. That's all they have to do, is fire the parliamentarian and force a majority vote. And then they get J.D. Vance in, and it'll be done. Okay, so those calls are very important. And then it's 202-224-2321 for Thune directly. And we really, really need you to make those calls. It's really vital that action, and it's everything that Trump's been calling for, is the Save America Act. That having that passed now would make there be incredible grounding, okay, for not only saving the midterm elections, but saving the country at this point from any huge calamities that could be coming down and coming forward. So I wanted to make sure to mention that. Please do it. Take action. Please do it. Okay, and then again, let's just mention on the way out, we've got Mamdani, his housing uh, little grab. You know, today we're hearing that. So what happened was in New York City, we had this kind of interesting situation where all of a sudden, after Mamdani declares, while his wife is in Spain at the Quran herbs conference for women, we've got Mamdani saying, "Oh, we have to create these frozen zones in New York City. We have to have frozen zones where you're no longer, you know, allowed to go between 40th and 45th Street at 1st through 4th Avenue in New York City, like prime areas. You're no longer, you know, we have buckling columns, we have bricks falling down. It's crazy." And it just happened a few days after he was communistly saying that, you know, he's freezing all these rents and, you know, all of these building owners are under huge investigation. Well, now they have collapse zones. You get this ridiculous Lillian Bonsignor, the retired EMT. Okay, she's an EMT who was then selected out of her EMT retirement to be literally the the federal, excuse me, the fire department commissioner of New York City, the FDNY. I mean, it's so sick. It's so crazy. She comes out and she's like, "I don't really know what's going on, but let me pass the microphone to this guy because I was just in bed like 5 minutes ago. Now I'm back because some columns are breaking down or whatever." I mean, it was so ridiculous to watch it. Truly, it was crazy. But basically, then they declare these frozen zones. So this is a whole new thing, where suddenly we have weather weapons. We have what they did on July 4th with the total heat waves and the weather wars, and now we get frozen zones. Okay, by frozen they mean you can't go there. Okay, so think of all the same, net zero crap, all the same baloney. And by the way, Davos did just meet again for their summer summits in China this time. In China, they were hanging out talking about robotics and tech and AI, how they must meet the moment to have a massive, massive build out so they can have massive tech surveillance and robotic takeover of all of our jobs. That just happened from the end of June through the first few days of July. Okay, the World Economic Forum doesn't bother talking about it anymore. They're just going in full bore with each other because they lost their control over the population in Europe and in the USA as far as the mines. But there's still now full bore China for what can we do for this surveillance, robotics, AI build out. And China, interestingly, I think only has like 400 data centers, AI data centers, where there's like 3,000 applications and being built out here in the USA. But back to Mamdani and this housing and these frozen zones, we get the situation where they declared an emergency, basically, evacuated all these people from multiple buildings over literally bricks falling. Okay. This is not the New York City you remember or know, where basically, anything could be happening, but they're certainly not going to prevent people from getting to their apartments. And so, very interesting to watch this. It was at 42nd Street between 2nd and 3rd Ave. And basically, they're talking about controlled demolition. And to me, this is all about property grab. So today they're saying it's stable, but something happened between then and now. So as we go on this week, I will continue to report on it. And so um, I want to talk about Nigel Farage, but I think I'm going to save that for the next video. He's done a very interesting situation where he's like resigning as MP of Clacton. He's trying to force this, this kind of mock election And this is all interesting. We're going to get into that, this kind of upset that Nigel Farage is doing. I'm going to get back to that, in the next video. But I did want to mention that Trump was very clear from NATO when he said that if Europe does not stop its policy, its green policies on energy that are destroying the countries and destroying the wealth of the people and their job opportunities, etc. Plus, if it doesn't stop its immigration, migration invasion right away, then there will be no Europe anymore. This is the backdrop that's gone on in this NATO summit. This is where Trump is coming from. Okay, that what's going on here in these deals is to gain more America control, not over, but to stop the oppression, to stop, to backtrack, to get the banksters to roll back their massive plan to have a prison planet, okay, for all controlled by the City of London and the bankster elite banks, Bank of International Settlements, the World Banks, etc. And Trump is coming in and saying, nope, we're kind of in charge here because we have the military might, and we're here with Turkey, who has the second amount of military might outside of Russia and China. And so we can literally tell you what to do. And so we're going to keep seeing what comes on here. There's going to be a lot more information in the next day or two. It's still early to know, but that's, I think, what I have for you today. I did want to mention here, it was very interesting when we're talking about the whole situation of of what was the basically, the summer Davos, okay, and it just, just nobody talked, it just came and went. The summer Davos, this was 23rd to 25th of June in Dalian, China. This was a tech summit, annual meeting of what they're calling the new champions of defeating humanity, I guess. The theme was innovating at scale, okay, and this went on for 2 days or 3 days. And then they met back up again on the 1st through the 4th of July, where it was called Touching Intelligence, all about AI and robotics. Okay, so they're moving full bore in their secret cabals of tech, tech tyranny, while at the same time we're having, could there be a juxtaposition to this? Could there be a way, that AI, quantum, what the Trump team is doing is combating technocracy global, Mr. Technocrat global, and the jury's out on that. It is pretty bad when we're having in the EU and UK they're still doing their chat control, legislation through the EU chat control, where basically it's the government right to read your texts in real time on your phone. Just read everybody's texts because they're looking for child exploitation. They couldn't find those 500,000 rapists, Islamists in the UK, but now they must look at all your texts. So suddenly they want to find somebody who's exploiting a child, when literally it's all about the escalation to use it to track everybody for political, dissidents, for anybody who's against Mr. Global in the EU or UK, in the hundreds of millions. So that's going on. But it was interesting, this situation from Elon Musk, something he did post, and I will try to link it below. I will link it below. This song by Heavy Pulp called Ode to America's 250th Year. And so if you go on X at Heavy Pulp, Ode to America's 250th Year, there's this incredible song that's all about America first and quantum-free energy, and America continuing on, and President Trump in there going through like a quantum portal and all of this interesting stuff. And basically we have Elon Musk reposting this on the 4th of July. Very, very interesting. I found out about that through And We Know, and I will link it below. But very great song, but also this whole thing of quantum, free energy, America, American Revolution, 2.0 with free energy and what's coming. So let's be hopeful about that. Let's be hopeful about that is what I'm thinking, because uh, Trump is being hopeful about it, and at this point, I'm very much on Trump team, that everything continues to keep being the next step towards defeating cartel Babylon, and that's where I'm out on this channel. So one nice thing that came out over Trump's posts over the weekend too, showing the triumphal arc that they're building, basically, saying, we beat Mr. Global, we beat the cartel Babylon, is Abraham Lincoln statue imprint, this incredible bronze statue imprint that's going to be of Abraham Lincoln in the triumphal arc. And that's, again, the defeating of the British, defeating of the City of London. So very, very, very interesting what's going on there and being displayed and signaled to us at this time at America 250, because it is an incredible time. So I hope you are celebrating it. I hope you're getting active. I hope that you are, just feeling the upliftment and the inspiration of what's coming through at this time, and you're able to utilize it, grasp it, and move forward with it, because it's so important that all of us are in this animating contest of liberty, that we are literally moving forward towards the gates of hell, moving forward towards the satanic, demonic elite, right? When we saw Mamdani on the third, sitting with George Washington's desk in reverse at the back of it. I mean, if that's not satanic, I don't know what is, with all these Muslims, with his like women in hijabs and this black I mean, it was just so disgusting, talking about capitalism bad, all of this crap that is the Islamist communist reparations crowd, so gross. But here we are, and things are being coming to fruition. So keep heart, keep God close, keep your prayers very, very active. And I will sign off from there, just saying, if you found something interesting or new information, we'll see what's going to happen with McConnell, and his, wherever life support he's on. Thomas Massey threw out there, will he try to run in a special election if they declare him dead before August 3rd? Great, that'd be fantastic, But basically, there's so much excitement happening. There's so much good. A lot of the old evil being defeated or falling away. New methods of, strategically moving forward by the Trump team for hemispheric defense, and also for defeating cartel Babylon with the tariffs, with the sanctions, with the controls economically, so that they don't have the power or the funds to harm us. So we keep watching. And I'm kind of just starting to ramble. I'm sorry. I think I've been rambling for a while. It's just that kind of a day. But basically, I do want to talk about my fantastic sponsor. And we had two great winners of course, the great C60 Evo capsules. This is c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. This is the incredible miracle molecule that gets right into all of your mitochondria, literally your trillions of mitochondria. It gets into your neurons, crosses the blood-brain barrier, cleans out the garbage. Okay, all disease comes from cellular malfunction, and that all comes from toxins and all the crap that they are injecting, spraying, putting in the food, all of it that causes harm to us. This takes out of your body. It is an amazing, amazing product. Completely pure, the purest, basically made in the best lab in the world in Houston, Texas. c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. And if you've ever donated or choose to do so now, and if you want to support the channel, there's links below to do so. But if you do support, you get 15% off with a different link and code sent to you. And what's so incredible, this product is bought up by all of the clinics, not all, that's a overstatement, but what I'm saying is so many clinics buy this that are the big C clinics working both allopathically and naturally to help people that are, fighting the big C, and buying it up by the caseload because a recent study just came out that showed that this ESS60 molecule, in the purity that it is in this product here, it helps the cancer cells to die, and it helps the healthy cells to stay alive when there is treatments being done. This, of course, won the Nobel Prize, this exact formulation, for its radiation, its ability to beat radiation, and what it was able to do where rats at the time were able to live something like 90 times longer, okay, than other rats, and they didn't, who were irradiated, okay, and they didn't have tumors, which is almost unheard of for any rat. This is an incredible product, and I hope that you can take advantage of the sponsorship here on the channel. So happy after Fourth. We're still in this. This is our year, and we're going to fight, fight, fight for the midterms, and we're going to make those calls, and we're going to get Thune to force the Save America Act through the Senate. So thanks so much for watching. So grateful for you, and I will see you tomorrow. You are free.